Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Beans and Eats podcast. I'm Jordan Shinta.
Tony Thomas.
Today we have on Peter Scarcello.
Peter.
How are we?
Good.
Nice to have you.
Today we are in the lobby of the Hotel Lafayette. We are drinking Public Espresso and Coffee, new coffee shop opened up inside there. And let me tell you, the beans are wonderful. What do you got in the cup? We got to start off.
Yeah, what's in the cup?
I got a house coffee and raw sugar and some cream. That's
Raw
it.
sugar.
Sugar's good.
That's the only way to go.
Really?
No, I can't.
You don't do the sweet and low?
No, absolutely not. No.
Really?
It makes a world of difference. So.
The grand
I do agree.
Tony's got the latte going out over
Yeah, I got the
there.
latte.
We'll get a zoom on that later.
Yeah, this is beautiful stuff here.
Kicking it back with the Americano.
Yeah.
So glad to have you on. Starting off, we just want to know, how you started with Hook and Ladder Development, how you got the name about.
Yeah.
What really, brought you
What
to
is
do
it?
this?
So, in my early 20s, I actually I bought a couple investment properties on my own, and my father was in real estate for like 50 years, so I was always around the real estate industry, and he was the one that actually sat me down and said, look, if you're going to buy your first home, instead of buying a conventional starter home, he said, why don't you buy a two-family?
Right.
Live on the first floor, rent the second floor out, and let that carry the mortgage for you. So I got to tell you, it was the best thing I ever did. So that allowed me to save up some money. Again, I didn't go for the conventional starter home. And I think that trend has shifted too. I think that you see a lot of young buyers now opting for, or new first-time home buyers opting for multi-family residence as their first home, opposed to the traditional starter home.
Like a duplex?
Yeah, it's a great way to save money. And if you don't need the space and size of the traditional starter home, then why not buy a multi-family home and let some of that rent offset your cost?
Yep.
So I did that. That my first house I bought was on Kimberly. I lived there with my wife and son. Then we bought another double in South Buffalo, and from there I totally had the itch to buy real estate. So in 2009, and also at that same time, a good friend of mine that I grew up with, John Otto, another South Buffalo guy, he was also doing the same thing. He was starting to buy some real estate on his own. So we'd have conversations about which house we were going to try and buy next, and it wasn't competitive in any way, but he was doing his thing, I was doing my thing. And then in 2009, we both were hired by the Buffalo Fire Department, and the great thing about one of the nice benefits of the fire department is the schedule kind of lends itself to be able to do something else on the side. So John and I decided that instead of competing against each other for the next 20 years trying to buy a property in South Buffalo, why don't we just join forces? And that's how Hook and Ladder was formed. And that's where actually our third partner in the company, Gino Gaddy, was also hired by Buffalo Fire in 2009, and we met Gino in the Fire Academy. And the reason we identified Gino as someone we wanted to open this company with was because the one thing John and I were not good at was construction. So, and with real estate development, you really need somebody who has the experience and the skill set on the construction side. So that's essentially how the company was started.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. When you bought that first place, did you know anything? Like, was it in bad shape? Did you know how to flip it at all? Or
the first property I bought on Kimberly myself was a good, solid home. Just cosmetic work. And actually, I forgot, I left this out. So before we formed Hook and Ladder, John and I, and this is why we came to the conclusion that we needed a contractor in the company. Right. John and I, before Hook and Ladder, when we were in the academy, we bought a property together on Seneca Street. So about a week and a half into it, we knew instantly, this relationship is not going to work without a contractor. Yeah. The two of us were trying to put a bathroom together for about 4 months in this little tiny double in South Buffalo. So it was a learning experience. But that's really when we decided, look, if we're going to try and form something, an actual company, that we identified the construction as a major component to that.
Yeah.
So that's where that's where we grabbed my Gino Gaddy, my fellow Italian in the company. So.
It's important to have those.
Yeah.
You need a couple of Italians.
always, yeah.
Yeah.
But he's really been invaluable. Just again with his experience and his skill set, it's allowed us to grow at a much faster rate.
Right. So what projects right now are you currently working on?
Well, our major focus right now is Seneca Street in South Buffalo. We kind of view the Seneca Street market and neighborhood is the next big thing in the city. There's just tremendous potential on the street. There's other investors right now taking notice and also investing and working on restoring older buildings, such as the Shea Seneca building, which ironically my cousin Sam Scarcello and his partner James Rayberg will be opening up a second location in the Shea Seneca building on Seneca Street this summer. So
For the public?
Public, yes.
Public espresso?
Public espresso, yes.
Put a link in the bio too. You can check out there. Check out
they're
their-
dynamite.
They're awesome.
Yeah,
they really are.
They got a great following, a
Got a
great
good
product.
Instagram page?
All their social media is on
People
point.
love,
Yeah.
people love, posting
Yeah,
on their
yeah.
medias.
Absolutely.
So he's
to see
they've
it.
done very well, and Sam's a South Buffalo guy, and so is James actually. So it's nice to have them back in the community, and that'll be a great asset. Yeah, so we're looking forward to that.
So you see South Buffalo being like the next wave of, new development coming into the city, because for a while people have been talking about the west side and Niagara Street and how that's, coming up. People are talking about, Canal Side and how that's really changed. Now it's shifting to Outer Harbor and what they're going to do over there, but you see South Buffalo being that next wave.
Absolutely. First of all, it's been incredible to see the resurgence that's taken place in Buffalo as a whole, including the building that we're in. One of the beautiful things, or one of the best things about our city is we have incredible architecture here. Finally, we began to embrace everything that was always in front of us, and it certainly helped that the state recognized that, with some of these older buildings that were either vacant or in disrepair at the time, you have to incentivize it for developers to take on those projects to make them viable and work.
Exactly, because they're expensive. A lot of this stuff is
restoration,
high-end stuff.
adaptive reuse, restoration projects of older buildings. It's extremely expensive. So, in order for those projects to be viable, they have to be incentivized sometimes. And Rocco Termini did an incredible job with the Hotel Lafayette, and he put a fantastic amenity in place with public espresso. So much like what is happening on Seneca Street with the Shea Seneca building, from Jake Schneider from Schneider Development, he identified the building as being historically and architecturally significant, and he's taken on that project. And when it's done, it will give really an iconic building, a significant building in that neighborhood, a new life. And we're looking forward to that next chapter for that property, as well as Seneca Street as a whole.
Yeah,
It's cool to see. I mean, even the Hotel Henry, like how they restored that, it's great, because we do have great architecture down here. So
it's great. It's encouraging. It's exciting to see some of these these old buildings with the magnificent architecture get a new chance, a new life. So. And also the great thing about Seneca Street, it's really one of the few commercial strips where you have an urban setting. It's incredibly dense. So you have storefront on top of storefront on top of storefront, a dense residential neighborhood. But then you also have Cazenovia Park, which is a Frederick Law Olmsted Park at one end and the Buffalo River at the other. So you really have all the ingredients are right there.
I didn't realize that.
It's the components to create a viable and exciting commercial district it's all right there. One of the things with South Buffalo is historically, I think the neighborhood has kind of been physically isolated from the rest of the city, and then also, it's a very proud neighborhood, and at times it maybe gave the perception to people outside the community that was, hey, this is our tight little neighborhood, and this is our thing, and where I think over time the neighborhood has become much more welcoming, or given the feeling of, hey, come down here, experience this neighborhood with us. It's a beautiful place to visit and live, and it's incredibly affordable too. So that's one of the other reasons I think you're seeing a lot of progress and activity on Seneca Street and South Buffalo as a whole. Some of those other markets you mentioned, they're saturated to an extent. So the property values are risen to a level that they're tough to get into. Not everyone can get into them. So,
especially like Elmo and Allentown right now.
yeah,
They're really expensive.
yeah, they are. That's primo real estate right now, and those are beautiful markets and beautiful neighborhoods, but they're also extremely competitive, and the values are pretty high. So we see South Buffalo, and particularly Seneca Street, as an affordable option for people.
Could be the next wave of like an Elmo. You never know.
Oh, for sure. It's funny because South Buffalo is a very traditional neighborhood. It's a very traditional community. I see a lot of similarities between South Buffalo and Seneca Street and North Buffalo and Hurdle Avenue. Hurdle Avenue is historically been a traditional neighborhood where you have generation upon, you're talking about 2-3 generations of families living in that neighborhood. It's very similar to South Buffalo, where you really do see people settle down and stay. And I'm third generation. My kids are fourth generation South Buffalo. So you have those traditional values, much like North Buffalo.
Right.
So I definitely see Seneca Street as potentially being something similar to Hurdle.
Yeah. My dad grew up in that North Buffalo area, so
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The generation.
There's a lot of history there.
Right. Very nice. So, I've always wanted this, just like a day in the life of a developer. Like what, throughout the day, what are you bouncing around different meetings? Are you doing as a firefighter? How do you handle all of it?
It's I always considered myself and my two partners, John and Gino, we're doers. I mean, we get up every morning and we go at our business, and typically my week consists of, if I'm not at the office, I'm at the firehouse. If I'm not at the firehouse, I'm at the office. So
constantly working.
Yeah, I am. But there's aside from the development, which I wanted to mention. Shea Seneca is a huge project in Seneca Street now, but we're also taking on St. John's, the Evangelist, which is a vacant church that is located next to the Homestead Park in Seneca Street. So we see that as an exciting adaptive reuse project that will certainly draw some attention. But back to the day-to-day stuff. It's a lot of it on our end is not only prospecting property and working on developing our current portfolio, but a lot of what we're doing is trying to, and through relationships such as this, trying to engage people and network with people to introduce them and familiarize them with the South Buffalo and Seneca Street community.
It's a big part of it.
It's a huge part. Yeah. So on top of trying to market Hook and Ladder, our own company, we're also trying to market and introduce literally a community to other parts of the city.
Yeah.
So, and they do that. We're grassroots guys. We get out and pound pavement. We get up every morning. I shake hands and I introduce myself to people. And this is the kind of stuff that I love doing, because it's just another opportunity for me to tell people about what we're doing and what's going on in that market. So,
I liked when you said, we're just doers, because that's kind of how we say it to people when they ask us, like, what do you guys do like daily?
Yeah.
It's like, well, we just kind of like do. We wake up and we pound and we go to work.
Yeah.
We work on our business, and like you said, we're not only trying to grow like the brand of 360 Views, but we're also trying to educate people on why we're doing what we're doing. So it's like showing people what drones could actually do, showing people what 360 like tours are actually like, why they're going to be helping in the engineering fields, the architecture fields, the development fields, and so on.
I'm glad you said that, because as I mentioned to you when I first met you guys at Spot Coffee, we were sitting with Nick Jambra, and I said, I'm pretty picky as far as what grabs my attention on social media or whatever. I don't, unless it really, I'm not drawn to everything, and something's really got to catch my eye.
Yeah.
And I told Nick Jambra, your friend Nick, said those guys are killing it. Everything they do, everything that's put up on, from their marketing is on point. So, hence that's why we reached out to you for some of our stuff on Seneca Street. But you guys are doing excellent work.
Thank you. Appreciate
we're excited to get
it's
that.
It's a unique perspective. It really is.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. That means a lot, because we're a year and a half old now, and we're trying to gain people like you's attention and say, hey, man, we want to help you.
We
want to show off your amazing properties that you just put almost probably sometimes a year into it, sometimes a little less or more.
It's cool hearing that too, just like as a doer aspect, what you're saying, because every day it's just you're chipping away at one thing.
That's
you know?
it.
So if you have a project, it's like, well, what are you doing? Well, maybe it's fixing the drywall, or maybe it's just going to meet someone that's it's everything that's going to chip away at the project, which is it's all about the process.
It's all about the process, and I always, again, we consider ourselves doers, and I'm constantly trying to touch everything and meet everyone and grab everything and buy what I can, But it's all about growth. It's about networking, growing a business, and I respect and appreciate what you guys are doing a killer job. So it's good stuff. Yeah, and as much like, again, I keep giving public the nod here, but my cousin Sam and his partner James have done the same thing. I mean, they are workhorses.
That's awesome.
They network. Their marketing campaign's on point. Their product is on point. Their atmosphere is on point. So
atmosphere's huge.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah.
Especially for us, we don't have an office, so we're hopping in other coffee shops.
Yeah, right.
You got to get the right vibes.
You do.
Have to.
You got to get the right vibes in a coffee place to do the edits. Really feel the videos.
It's for meetings, it's great. Like I walked in that place and I felt great. Right as I walked in.
It's good energy.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. It's funny. Nothing against Tim Hortons. I get Tim Hortons on the fly, like everyone. But one of the things in South Buffalo is we haven't had a quality coffee house in our neighborhood in decades. Yeah. So every morning I'm getting up, I'm doing my thing, I'm going out to Orchard Park, or I'm coming down here for my coffee before I even start my day. It's going to be beautiful to get up, drive on my way to my office. I can stop and grab a coffee at Publix. So it'll be a great amenity.
It's nothing like having a neighborhood bean shop there for
It's a place to gather.
Yeah, I don't feel top of my game without the coffee in me first.
Same. I was miserable on my way here.
Yeah,
it's
especially with this weather. It's just
you need something to get you.
I need 3.
It's so funny you say that. I had my father on the phone on the way here, and he's like, "What's wrong?" I'm running hot right now. I'm all tense and everything. I haven't had my coffee. I had a podcast interview with these guys, and I'm holding out on my coffee until then. So as soon as I got in here, the vibe.
You feel good. Right as the beans.
There you go. That's what Beans and Eats will do to you. That's the name of the podcast, and we're just we love talking beans.
Yeah, it's good. So
good times.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that project you guys are working on with us, for the 360 views is coming along nicely. So
the one on Seneca.
Yeah,
right?
2096 Seneca Street. Yeah,
you've been sending me photos of that periodically, just updates I can incorporate into the final stuff.
Yeah, it's good. We're anticipating that to be done probably within the next month.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool to show that off, because we have a couple ideas that we put in the proposal with you that you saw, that we're just gonna make a sweet drone area coming down Seneca Street and then kind of zooming in on your specific building.
It's cool.
Doing a bunch of cool stuff, 360 stuff in there. We got still photos going.
There'll be a lot of content you can market that, especially when the weather gets nice.
Yeah, right.
We're gonna market it.
Are you on social media? I know you have an Instagram, Hook and Ladder, but are you on Facebook too?
I'm not a huge. Let's talk social media.
Because I'm telling you, it's so cheap right now to advertise in there that it's just a no-brainer.
So
tell us why you don't use Facebook.
All right, I'll tell you. So, first of all, I'm going to be 36 this summer. You guys are younger than me, obviously. What do you guys do?
I'm 23.
20s? Yeah, early 20s. 20s, yeah, okay. So, Facebook for me, I love Instagram. Because in Instagram, I'm a very visual person. Instagram to me is art, and maybe a caption or two, and boom, that's it. It's directed to the point. It's not laced with comment after comment after comment. Facebook, it's a platform. In my perception of Facebook right now, it's a platform for people to bitch. And it is, and it's like I can't get on there. Instagram to me is a positive experience. When I'm on Facebook, it's a negative experience.
Okay.
So for me, I'm all mood, and I go on Instagram because it's positive, it's art. I'm a very visual person. When I go on Facebook, it's like every
people just want
in the
to
damn
complain,
world
right?
wants to bitch. It's like I don't got time for it. So I do my Instagram stuff, and then I share it to Facebook because I realize that Facebook it's a necessary evil in my opinion.
Right. You can just you can really target exactly who you want to market too, which is very nice. You know, I don't really scroll through, even on our business. We don't scroll through and look
I've
at
never
things.
scrolled through on Facebook more than maybe 2 minutes, and then I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing.
There's no point.
What am I? You know, I don't want to waste my time.
I post up like, and I'm just so, you know, again, I'm older, so like Instagram, it took me a while to figure it, and I'm still building it, but I feel good. Like we're over 1,000 followers now, and I'm getting we're starting to really ramp that up a little bit. So for me, for us that's good. I'd like to increase it, but so I'm still navigating through that. Facebook, my other partner John, he's pretty good with that. He navigates through that arena or that platform. But it's funny because we'll post something or I'll share it to Facebook, and my wife will come in, and my wife's a big Facebooker, so she'll go, did you see so-and-so comment on that? I go, no, I haven't looked at it since I
Some
sent in
people
that shit, I
just
shut
don't
it
miss
down.
a beat on there. I'm telling you, they catch every comment. Like, did you see? I'm like, no, I just posted.
I won't even look. I won't even look at the because that's the beauty behind Instagram. Like Instagram, you might get 10, 15 comments, and they're short. Boom, boom, boom. You go on Facebook, you freaking have 400 comments on one guy. It's like, who has got time to read all this shit? You know what I mean?
Hilarious.
6-page paper.
Yeah, and three-quarters of it is all people bitching about stuff. It's like, I'm positive, bro.
Right. No, I agree. We try to stay positive, especially if you're starting a business and you're working on business operations. Nothing is worse than having a bad mood.
Bro, I'll tell you right now, since you know, again,
That's a good
I
point,
feel old
Tom,
as
by the way.
shit right now, 35, but as young guys with the new business, and you know, we're still learning on the fly too. But the one thing I would tell you is surround yourself with positive and creative people. It's key. It's critical. You just feed off of them.
Yeah.
You know, it's really is important because when you're surrounded by negative people or people who don't think outside the box or not overly progressive, it's
drags your mood.
It's
Brings your mood
gonna.
down. You need all the positivity, special. I'm going to say it again with the weather and just like constant day to day when you're chipping away at something. You need to be.
It's daunting at times.
I mean,
you need that pick me up from people.
Exactly.
You know?
You need people to help you, you know,
Yeah.
in that way, just like coffee helps. You don't need nothing's worse than having a bad coffee. Just like nothing's worse than interacting with somebody that's just gonna be negative. It's just so. At my point in my life, I'm graduating in a couple months. Like,
Good for you.
You know, we're starting this business. Like, I have no time for people to like complain.
No,
You just can't be around it.
There's
no point.
My thing is there's a difference between being critical and being negative. So constructive criticism is good. I want people to be critical. You know, if I'm doing something that's not, you know, it can be done better or whatever, I'm all for that. Telling me what can I do, you know, and that's constructive. But when you have people who are just negative to be negative and they're incapable of thinking outside the box and seeing a bigger picture and seeing the growth, they're gonna kill you.
How about the people that don't realize how good like this world is?
Oh,
or how good like they have it being in like actually like America and being like
the opportunity, just the simple stuff,
I
you know.
Being around college students all the time, we get that like people are like always bitching about life, and I do it too sometimes. But like sometimes it's people's like it's like their go-to starting conversation. It's like
well, I think that's because I think a lot of I think it's a personality trait. I think there's a lot of people who they limit themselves because they put those limitations on themselves.
Yeah.
You know, I never viewed any limitation on myself. I've always taken the approach that I can make of my life whatever the hell I want to make of it, and no one's going to stop me. And that is one of the most beautiful things about this country. You can literally wake up tomorrow and be whatever the fuck you want to be. You can.
It's awesome.
You can. It's totally up to you. Now, with that said, I think it's our responsibility to acknowledge the fact that some people are not starting at the same line or position that others are. So I do think that as a society, we have to acknowledge that and help people to be at the same starting line.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree with that.
But then once you're at that starting line,
hey
man, then it's fair game.
We're all accountable, you know, for everything you do.
And once you get people to that starting point, that's up to the person, you know, to take advantage of what's out there. And if you don't want to, then that's on you. It's not on anyone else. You know?
No, yeah. We Jordan and I watched the movie about Steve Jobs and Apple.
Yeah.
And like the last line in that movie was like, once I realized that, nobody is as smart as nobody's smarter than.
Yeah.
How do I say it? I'm trying to.
I don't remember. No one.
Is,
once you realize that the person next to you is no smarter than you are, that created something, right?
Yeah.
Then you can basically conquer it.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing too. It's like, it's funny. We got it. We nailed it. Coffee. Drink some more coffee. No, it's a lot of it too is, it's even our own company, like myself, John's. We're not polished guys. I didn't go to school for this. We're just three guys working hard, trying to make a change and have an impact.
Yeah.
And one of the things one of the things I struggled with early on was, sometimes you find yourself in a room where you are sitting next to a guy who's polished and went to school for it, who's very experienced and done it a long time. It's a little intimidating. But then you get to a point where it's like, who gives a fuck? I don't care. This guy's got no impact on my life.
They're not that much better, yeah.
Yeah, and the reality is, if this guy thinks I'm the dumbest guy in the room, it still doesn't. Okay, God bless you. You're not going to change anything that I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm still going to get up every day, hustle and grind, do my thing. So
it's not going to change your work ethic.
It's not going to change anything. It's not going to change my view on real estate. It's not going to change my view on who I am. It's not going to change my view on how I want to grow the company. Mm-hmm. So once you get past that. Once you realize there really are no limitations on you, the only limitations are the one you put on yourself, and then the other one is like that Steve Jobs quote. Who cares? At the end of the day, you realize that guy's not as smart as you thought he was. Or, even if that guy doesn't like you, or he doesn't like your views, or doesn't think you're the most polished guy, who cares?
Yeah.
It's got no impact.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've been trying to do a lot of networking recently because we realized, you could have 7,000 followers on Instagram, kind of like how we have it, but we'd rather have we'd almost rather have less 7,000.
Dude,
yeah,
beast mode. I like it.
So we'd rather have almost a smaller portion, but
quality.
Depth. So depth over width.
Yeah.
We learned that from Gary Vaynerchuk. He talks about he's a great mentor.
He's a beast. Yep.
He's a beast.
Yeah.
But he talks about depth over width, and I think that's huge, and especially in starting businesses. It's like making sure you go deep with people instead of just having a lot of people.
I agree. The one thing you're 100% right. I would choose quality over quantity anytime. Mm-hmm. I think the quality relationships are the key relationships. And you want to reach a broad. You want to touch. You want to have that broad reach. But when it comes to influence and real interaction and relationships, I agree. It's quality always. You want those quality relationships. And that will then help you elevate your game and reach more people.
You never know where it can take you. With the network, especially, when you sit down and get an interpersonal relationship instead of just a LinkedIn connection.
Yeah.
It's more
so
like
what's that? Yeah, right.
What does it do at the end of the day unless you're really following up and getting... Right.
Not for nothing, but having a cup of coffee with somebody, and getting to know people.
It beats it every time.
It beats it every time.
People get lost. I mean, it is cool. Like on LinkedIn, sometimes they're like, "Nice to meet you." It's cool. It's a new wave of that's how people are interacting.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see that people can still communicate, face to face over a cup of coffee. That's what I love to see. But you gotta see on LinkedIn. It's a new wave. It's like someone the other day was like, "Nice to meet you." It's like we haven't even met each other.
Yeah. On LinkedIn, he was like. Person just said, "Nice to meet you," and it's like we were on our laptops, like 50 miles away from each other.
But that's just the norm. Like you either go against it, where it's.
Well, I think it's finding a balance. See, you guys strike me as much like me. That maybe have a little bit of an old-fashioned mentality or kind of an old soul type deal where. Given the opportunity, you would prefer a cup of coffee over a quick email. Hey, 100%. How you doing? Nice to meet you. But understanding that that's the way a lot of people interact now, and that's okay. But I think as long as you maintain a balance, that's the key. Speaking of LinkedIn, is that legit? I pay no attention to LinkedIn.
I post almost every day on LinkedIn.
I think it's
I really do. And we've gotten numerous jobs from that.
Thing I gotta get on.
Well, I mean, we'll help you out with that because it really is. There's so many people that if one person shares it, you don't know how many people that connection has. There's a lot of people that go on there daily. If there's high executives.
We see that. Yeah, we see it's like it's almost like where Facebook's kind of like. I don't know how to describe it, but I feel like more professional.
LinkedIn is professional.
It's a more professional Facebook.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Is it okay? See, that's cool then, because I could get into something like that. Like that's the problem with me with Facebook.
It's too like family. Everyone's family, which is fine. It's cool.
fine, but that's not what I want.
But not for business.
Yeah, right.
You would like
there, and over there on LinkedIn, it's something where you don't like friend message the person. You don't like become their friend unless like you know them kind of deal.
Oh, I got
it's like people don't randomly don't randomly just friend you if they don't know you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's not as much as like you.
There's not as much weird, creepy stuff like
no,
random
it's not like you don't poke people or none of that. No games. It's just like straight business.
I like that. All right, that's good. I gotta write that down. That's one more that I gotta get. Yeah,
no Facebook relationships.
Yeah, right.
Facebook official.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Facebook official. No relationship.
I don't even know what that means, but all right, I agree.
It's like when people like if you're like back when we were in like high school, like if you were dating somebody. You had to make sure like you put it on your Facebook because you were dating somebody, or else it
wasn't official.
Like it would be a thing like, are you Facebook official? That's what would make it like a solid.
That's how our generation is.
You guys don't remember. Well, you guys were too young for instant messenger on AOL.
No, we had
the last part, like the last year or two of it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I had one, and
that was the original.
Yeah, that was
social media.
I remember that. You had a little username. Yeah, I remember that on the
colors.
People were getting hacked all the time.
Yeah,
It was crazy.
We were on the tail end, like the AIM when it updated. That's
where
we were.
But too funny. That's hysterical.
Yeah, I would definitely get on LinkedIn. Honestly, you don't have to go on Facebook, but understanding how Facebook ads work and how you can capitalize on it.
Yeah.
So if you watch any of Gary Vee's stuff, he's talking about how Facebook is like the super underpriced for marketing.
Yeah.
And you could target.
You capture certain people.
You can literally target like down to age, down to gender, like women over the age of 50 that live on Seneca Street. I want to target just those people that have interests in real estate.
Yeah,
and then basically make your post about directing it to them, talking to them.
So you could have a super detailed criteria.
And you drop maybe even $20. Sometimes we'll boost it, boost the post for $5, and you can reach over a couple thousand people.
That's crazy. Yeah.
So it's a cheap way to do it right now before people start catching on. It's going to only increase when Facebook.
It's going to increase. It's like Google AdWords was.
Yeah. Okay.
How it was really cheap back in the day if anybody knew how to do it, but a lot of people just was like, it's too confusing.
Yeah. But the people that knew how to.
But now per click, it's like $8 a click when it used to be like 8 cents.
Really?
And it's kind of similar to Facebook right now.
What we'll do when we finish the whole video, the transition of that project on Seneca, we'll show you how to boost it because people love videos too. That's on Facebook, visualize even Instagram. That's why people go on.
Yeah, that's why I love Instagram. I'm super visual.
That's why they added video too.
Yeah.
And then it was originally Instagram only added you could put 15-second video, and now they've figured out that a minute is perfect.
Yeah, right. That's a good time frame. Yeah. So one thing I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, but the again going back to Seneca Street, a lot of what we're doing is trying to attract new businesses to the street. So people who are either looking to expand into a new market or startups. So we actually, some of our commercial tenants, David Jeanette, he's incredible. He's a great networker. It's a very talented tattoo artist. Gray Havens Tattoo is in 2116 Seneca Street, which is across from our office. GNG Medical Supplies is also in 2116, which is across from our office. And then we just signed Aaron Moran and Carrie Vogel, who are going to operate the studio on Seneca Street. So it's photography based. Come in and have a family photo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's cool. Yeah, and then Dan Callahan owns and operates Bob's Barber Shop on Seneca Street.
I know where that is. That's right by the place.
Yeah,
it's right at the corners of it.
Yeah, and he's been cutting hair. I always tell people Dan Callahan was cutting hair on Seneca Street before it was cool to cut hair on Seneca Street.
Yeah.
He's been there a long time, so we're happy to see him continue to grow his business.
Awesome. It's good to see businesses going up there, and it's all part of the development.
That's the key. It's bringing not only developing these buildings, but then putting quality amenities in place for the neighborhood and people in the community to experience. Yeah. So that's the key is, again, getting the right businesses in place for people within the community to enjoy those amenities along the street.
Awesome.
So, good stuff.
Are Anything else
You got anything?
Tony?
You want to grill me anymore? What we got? Who wants? Got anyone questions?
Should we get a guest?
We get the
appearance?
spotlight.
I wish we could have got your cousin to jump on in.
I
But
text him. They're busier than hell. He's constantly running around. Him and James are, like I said, they're workhorses. So
I'd like to meet him though. Definitely.
yeah, we can get him.
yeah,
on.
we'll set him
Shake
up for
hands
sure.
and
Yeah,
get
yeah,
some
yeah.
coffee with him.
Yeah,
Talk
yeah.
just strictly coffee.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a couple questions about coffee and
Yeah,
what kind of coffee I might get into. So
yeah.
cool.
Well, he's the guy. They've been at it for a while now, and they got a great business and a great product, and I cannot wait for them to be in South Buffalo and on Seneca Street. So
Sure.
looking
Well,
forward.
we're looking forward to your development. Thanks for coming on. It's great to see the work you're doing.
Yeah.
This is
Absolutely.
awesome.
Check us out, YouTube. Thanks again for joining us, Beans and Eats podcast. Peter Scarcell. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.